So let's introduce you to our first guest. I'm really excited that he's come to do the first webinar. It means a lot to me because this is going to set the scene for the rest of the series. Now, you've probably seen him around before. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about Mr. James Ashford. So you've probably seen one or maybe two of his books. And if you haven't, I will drop the links in below so you can go and check them out. Now, throughout this webinar, James gives a ton of insights into why you must master sales, but also how. The feedback that we got at the end was fantastic, but I'm going to leave it up to you to decide how valuable this is to you because we're each on our own journey. So sit back, relax, grab a cuppa, have a brew, and I will see you on the other side.
Right. So I figure most people here, because we'll kick off. I'm sure a few people will come and join us in a bit, but we'll kick off because I'm conscious of everybody's time as well. But I figure most people here know James Ashford, and I think that's it's reasonable to say. If you've read Selling to Serve and you've read Untapped and you understand the principles, sometimes it takes a little bit extra just to kick those methodologies into your brain. And I really wanted James to come on to this webinar with me to help you and set your mindset for the future webinars that are going to come up, that are going to help you spot opportunities and spot marketing opportunities and open up sales conversations and make you more money by selling your service, so selling your clients on a deeper level. So that's what this is all about, and I'm super stoked to have James here with me today. So thanks ever so much for coming on, James.
That's cool. Thank you for having me. Excited to be talking to people. Paul, I've listened to Untapped 4 to 5 times. Yeah. Wow, and get something different every time. Yeah. That's great. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, no, excited to be here. Thank you.
For me, I've got them on Audible and on hard copy because I need to listen and make notes. So that's how my brain works. So I have to double up. So also, and for those who don't know me, because I'm sure that some people have come on here and they know James very well. I'm Kelly. I'm captain of Accounting Pirates, and we're a marketing firm that look after all sorts of different practices, but really puts the owner of the practice in the position of being the captain of their ship. It's all about responsibility and making sure that you understand the strategy. You are the one that's leading the way. It's not necessarily about you doing the work, but it's about you taking responsibility. So that's what I help people with. So this is why this all blends together really, really nicely. So without further ado, James, would you like to kick off?
Yeah. With what? What do you want me to start with? What's the question?
Well, if we go back to Selling to Serve, the original book.
Yes.
Okay, Selling to Serve is all about making sure that you've got the right systems in place, that you have the mindset to go and approach customers and to create the proposals on time rather than just hiding away, going on a sales call and hiding away. So why did that book come about in the first place? Like what problems were you noticing?
Yeah, so I'm going to take it a step back from that, Kelly, and kind of, and then I'll build up to that. So if I go off track, please just bring me back.
Okay.
But before I even got into the accounting industry, so I had a business myself, and people know the story of that one perhaps, and that it ultimately failed. And then I kind of went into this deep dive study into what makes businesses successful and what's the purpose of businesses. I'm always interested in trying to understand things at just like a dead simple level. Like, so let me just understand what a business is all about. Like, and the reality is that a business's primary function is to make money. Mm-hmm. And you can't make money unless a sale happens. You can't give value unless a sale happens. Yet we all have this really weird, we all have a weird relationship with selling, and we all have a weird relationship with money. And therefore you built this business to try and achieve money. And I presume the reason you've set up in business, because it's a really hard thing to do, is because you want freedom. You want freedom to be able to do the things you want to do with the people you want to do them with, whenever you want to do them. And in order to do that, you need time and you need money. Okay, we can't avoid it, but we typically don't have those conversations. So if you just think about selling as a kid, which I presume everyone was at some point on this call, you were a brilliant salesperson. You just didn't give a shit. Like you had a thought, I want this thing and I'm going to get it. Right. So like both my children are good at selling. They both got very good manipulative techniques to get what they want. And they'll use different things to get it. But like my son, Leo, will be like, right, daddy, I'm going to ask for this thing and you're probably going to say no. And if you do, I want you to know that's absolutely fine. But can I have, and you're like, whatever you want, like, yeah, it's all yours. Like, how can you resist that? And if you say no, he doesn't even hear it. Like he just carries on fixed on this thing that he wants. Yeah. Can I get a, whatever it is? I don't know, a Coke. You can't have a Coke, buddy, because you've already had one today and you know you live. I know that, and he just keeps going. Like it's not like objection handling. It's just that he wants this thing, and whatever is coming out of my mouth is irrelevant to that, and he keeps going and upsells. Can I have a biscuit? Yeah, if you want. Can I have two? Can you come and give me a hug? I mean, I'm getting to bed. Can you give me a hug? Yeah. Will you get in bed with me and hug me? Okay. Will you read me a story? Like there's always an upsell to keep going, and then at some point in life, whether it's parents shouting at us and telling us you can't have that thing, and we're feeling a sense of rejection, or as you get older and you experience salespeople in different scenarios who are normally terrible because they're more focused on themselves and they've got a bonus to try and hit or whatever, and you've been sold something crap that you didn't really want or whatever, we experience bad salespeople. At some point in our life, we convince ourselves that selling is bad. I don't want to be associated with it. Salespeople are terrible, selfish people. I don't want to be associated with that. There's the fear of rejection and all this stuff. And all that gets mixed up, Kelly. And so we avoid it. And then throw into this one, there's a brilliant book called The Psychology of Money by someone Mounts. I can't remember who it is.
Yeah.
But it's that everyone has a unique psychology towards money. Totally unique, like a fingerprint, right? Based on who you were born to, when you were born, where you were born, what experiences you've had. You know, like Becky's, my wife's parents divorced when she was young. She lived with her mum. They were on welfare. Like all of those things shapes her view of money versus my view of money. Okay, you with me? So we all have this unique psychology of money. We don't talk about it. We hate selling. And now you're plunged into a business where the primary function of it is to sell and is to make money. Like, it's no wonder that we struggle.
This is a really fascinating subject to me at the moment. I am looking into the sacred money archetypes, which is a similar theory. It's about everybody has this different idea of what money is, and it shows up differently. So you've got accumulators, which I would imagine the majority of accountants are accumulators. They want to protect money, and they do it really well because that's what they're trained to do. That's their mindset. But then we have the more maverick style, which is the opposite of that, which is they need to live with this excitement that money is coming and going and coming and going, and there is abundance of money. And I have a theory that there is conflict a lot of the time within practices between the accountant and their clients, and I'm exploring that at the moment. It's a really interesting topic.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. But there's people. This is not a logical problem to fix. That's the key thing. And I think the challenge with the accountants perhaps is that they're quite logical people.
Yes,
you know, and that's why they're in this industry, and it's the way their brain thinks. But then when we're dealing with money money is not a logical problem to solve. It's a psychological problem to solve, or an emotional problem to solve. Like, so it's so layered and so varied. And then if you throw into the mix, just to make it even more murkier and more difficult, Kelly, is the fact that, you know, it's your business, you're selling your services, and if there's like, you know, armies of one on here, their business is named after themselves. It's all about how you value yourself as well. And, you know, because you're not just asking for money for a widget that you're selling, you're asking for money for me to be impacting your business. And so it's how you value you. And most people on here massively undervalue themselves, and they just think, and then they come up with I'm allowed to swear? I keep saying.
You can, yeah. We're pirates here, James.
I feel more relaxed.
Do what you want.
Swear. Thank you. we come up with these bullshit excuses as to why we're not charging more money.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be dead honest with people today. Why we're charging more money, or why we're afraid to sell, and we package it up and say, yeah, I'll charge more when I improve my service. I'll charge more as soon as that qualification comes in. That's when I'll start to charge more. When, you know, in this and that, and it's got nothing to do with that. It's that you're afraid to say, I am enough. I am worth this. pay this for me, pay this to me, or piss off.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They and over delivering comes in here as well. So they might
Yes.
charge correctly, and then they feel guilty about charging correctly, so they over deliver, and
Yeah.
then it spirals out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. And that then it's all connected to the same thing as to what the psychology is behind it as to why you would do that. And it comes back again, Kelly, if we're getting deep into this, fear, I'm not good enough. That's why I need to sell more. Fear of rejection, fear that we're going to lose people, fear that we're going to lose them. And, I try to talk about this at a fairly deep level. We've all experienced loss in our life, right? Whether a parents divorced, whether your first partner dumped you, someone close to you died. We've all experienced loss, and it's painful, right? It's a painful thing. So when we have clients who we're serving, who we know that they're bringing us our income in, that they're responsible for our livelihood, we may forge strong relationships with them. The thought of losing them is actually magnified because it pokes the wound that you've not properly healed. About, like, for example, for me, my first girlfriend, Valentine's Day ice skating disco, sent a mate over to me to ice skate over to me. So I was just clinging onto the side for your life to say, yeah, you can go now. She's copped off with Paul. Get yourself off. Like, the pain,
Damn
like,
you,
that
Paul.
still hurts. You know what I mean? So the fear of losing someone actually pokes those wounds that we've not healed in our life from the past. And that's why it feels so much worse as well.
That Paul says nothing to do with him. It wasn't him. And just to raise this point, nothing I've ever said before, but I also got dumped on Valentine's Day when I was younger. It sucks. It's a really bad time. And his name was Christmas, Bobby Christmas. What cheek. So no, you're right, and I think these emotional wounds. When I first started exploring accountants, because I had accountants on my books for 9 years. But I didn't know them too well, and I put them on this pedestal because I thought they had everything sorted. I thought they had everything sussed because they have the skill set that I don't. Therefore, I wrongly assume that I have the skill set that I do have and the skill set that I don't, that they obviously have everything in their life under control.
Yeah.
I just put them on the pedestal, but the more you go into it, the more you realise that they're just human beings.
Yeah.
And they do suffer with different complexes and everything. That's just like everybody else. And most of them have gone through the similar journey I went through. Undercharging, over-delivering, having to get their shit in order and their house in order. And there are going to be people that are going through this all of the time.
I think it's worse than everyone else. They have it worse. So let's say you're a consultant or you're a painter and decorator or a plumber or whatever. You go into business, and the reason you go into business is to improve your life, but it's normally because you've got a skill and you're going to deliver that service around that skill, right? If you're a plumber, you can legitimately put your hand up and say, look, listen, I've no idea about money. I've no idea about selling. I've no idea about this. I'm good at plumbing. Help me out, right? You can do that in every other profession except if you're an accountant, if you're a solicitor, or if you're in financial planning, because you class as the professional services, right? So therefore, there is this perception, as you've just described there, that they've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Why we don't need to be talking to any accountants here today about selling, because they all understand money, they all understand finances, they can all put the numbers to a spreadsheet. Of course they know what they're doing. And so they feel this, so they feel they can't put their hand up and say, I've no idea about selling. I've no idea about bringing money into my own business. I struggle with cash flow. I'm not charging properly. Can you help me? They feel they can't ask that for that help. Yeah. And that's why I love these type of groups, because what people need to do is they need to drop the guard. They need to realize that no one's figured this out, that everyone is struggling. They're all in pain. And regardless of what you see on social media, where people look like everything's beautiful and hunky-dory, I always say this to people don't post the crap. People don't share the arguments. I've just been to Disneyland with my wife and kids, right? All the posts you've seen are of us hugging and with Mickey and dancing and stuff like that. I don't post it when Scarlett is now sulking and stomping off, and we've just had a big row about something absolutely ridiculous, right? Because she can't get another pair of Mickey ears. I don't think, that's the perfect moment I post that. So people look at you and think, oh, your family's always happy. I wish mine was happy. Yeah. We're not always happy. I'm just posting the happy shit. Yeah,
there's some real stuff that goes on too.
Yeah, so everyone is struggling. Everyone is in pain. And the more we can drop our guard and say, I'm struggling, I need help with this, the more chance you've got of improving.
So when accountants are talking to their clients, surely, and we have some really brilliant examples of people who are being reeled in the accounting space. Francesca springs to mind. But when you're talking to your clients, the fact that you're going through some similar or have gone through similar pains helps you resonate with them even more. And I think when we were talking off air about authenticity, that's the bit that people miss. Authenticity doesn't mean you have to be your best self. It means you have to be your real self. And that's warts and all. Would you say that's right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's so I kind of coined this phrase. I think I don't know if I was the first to use it, but I did use it
But
when I first came into this industry. But accounting businesses, stop using the phrase accounting firm or accounting practice, because that comes with baggage.
Yeah.
And so I started to use the phrase bookkeeping businesses, accounting businesses, right? Because you're a business first and foremost. And the moment you do that, something magical happens. So when you think of yourself as a firm or a practice, you're sat opposite a client, right? You sat at the other side of the table because you think you're fundamentally different. The moment you say I'm an accounting business, just like you're a plumbing business, you're a construction business, whatever, you stand shoulder to shoulder with them, looking down the same road, experiencing the same challenges, aiming to achieve the same things. You create this alignment, and it's a beautiful thing when you do that, and that's why people aren't judging you based on what you say. They're judging based on what they experience you to do. Okay, so if you command high fees, charge an onboarding fee, charge for absolutely everything, never ever discount, get money up front, charge monthly, etc. What you are demonstrating in doing that is being an exemplary business. And if anyone has an issue with that, you want to say, well, what are you trying to achieve in your business? Surely you're trying to achieve the same thing that I am. Well, do you want to work with a firm that understands how to make money, how to make sales, how to maximize the lifetime value of every single customer, how to bring their money in quickly? Or do you want to work with a firm that doesn't? Because which one do you think you're going to get the best advice from? And it's just about being dead honest with people about that. And the other thing it does as well, Kelly, is the moment you start to think like a business and be more entrepreneurial and have those conversations and share it with your team as well, your team upgrade, right? Because once your team are now, they should be working towards key metrics. How do we maximize the lifetime value of every customer? How do we increase sales? How do I improve average monthly fees, etc.? And they're driving your business forward as well. They become far more valuable for your customers because they're thinking in the right way.
And they become far more engaged in your business as well because they see them as a vital part of the business, not just someone that turns up to work. So they are a fundamental element of making that a success. And I think the ownership of that is really, really, it's really beautiful actually when you can achieve that, rather than just having someone that just turns up, gets their desk and go home, or like in today's world, just logs on, logs off, and never thinks about you again.
Most businesses are struggling, and we're facing kind of uncertain times now, and potentially recessions and various other things. But the reason that happens is not actually because of the recession or because of economic hardship. It's because they don't build enough margin in the business is the real issue. So the margin's so tight that when anything comes along and it whacks them, it squishes it up really fast, and they blame the event, they blame the recession, they blame the whatever it is. It's not that, it's because they've not been doing enough. So let me give you an example. Like our local pub in our village. So if we go there as a family and have a meal on a Friday after school or whatever, and a couple of pints, we're worth 100 quid to them, right? I know for a fact that no one is in that pub has ever thought, right, if they only ever come once every 3 weeks or once every 2 weeks, how could we get them coming every week? Because if they bring 100 quid every week, then they're worth £5,000 to us in the year. And if they live in the village for 5 years, that's a £25,000. Because have I done my maths right there? It seemed quite a lot.
Do not ask me about maths. Not
100
much
times 50, 5 grand times 5 years, 25 grand. We're worth 25 grand to them. No one's done that math to think, right, they're worth 25 grand. Sometimes they have a pudding, sometimes they don't have a dessert. How do we make sure they always have a dessert? Sometimes they finish the meal with a shot or a coffee or whatever. How do we sell them a takeout? How do we sell them a takeout coffee to walk home with? Like, how do we like, no one's thinking in this way. And I just think, who's your accountant? Why is no one? And it's like, it's not just they're trying to give make the most money from their customers. They're trying to give the most value. This is the thing. Both of those things go hand in hand. If I said to everyone on here and spoke to a room of accountants, do you want to give value to your customers? Oh, absolutely. We'd love to give value. We want to be valuable. We want to be valued, all this type of stuff. Cool. No value can be exchanged unless a sale happens.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're making enough money, there's no way you can deliver the value that they actually want.
So I had a client once that was very much against talking about business growth, because he said he's just an accountant, very much stuck in the compliance only, but he didn't want to talk about business growth because he wanted that to be left to consultants like me, or like marketing consultants, business consultants, etc. And I couldn't get over the mindset there. Why do you think he would think that way?
So it comes down to what they're trained in, I guess. And one of the big things I think I do for firms, and what I hope I've helped them with, is to uncouple themselves from things that are going to hold them back, right? So I've got a friend of mine, he's a garden designer, and he's doing our garden at the moment, charges an absolute fortune. And I remember when I first met him, and he was my first ever customer I worked with, and taught him about sales and pricing, etc. And so they come in and do the garden design. And I remember saying to him, why don't you then implement the garden? Like, let's say the garden's worth, like the implementation of the garden is 200 grand, right? You're charging 5 grand for the design of it, but you're not making any money for the implementation of it. Surely if you bring in the builders and the contractors and whatever, you should make a percentage off that and off all the materials. And he said, no, it's very against our professional standards. And our professional standards are, you're a designer, you can only charge for the design element, right? You should not charge for anything to do with the construction of the garden, because that is not your skill set. And I said, bollocks.
Yeah.
You need to make as much money in your garden. Who cares what they've told you? Are you in this to make money and change your life, or what? Like, what are you doing this for? So now he charges huge design fees. He does gardens that can be in excess of £1 million for the garden. And he'll make 10%. He'll make 10% on the implementation at least now. And it's like, you've got to let go of this thinking. And where it comes back to, Kelly, is the honest conversation I have with firms when I have a one-to-one with them to snap them out of this thinking is, I spoke to a firm last week, a lovely guy. He's 60 years old, still hungry for it, still going to be working for many more years, etc. And I asked him I said, look, have you got kids, wife, whatever? Yeah, kids and a wife. I said, let's say you live to 100. You're a fit guy. You can live to 100. You've got 40 Christmas dinners left with your kids. You've got 40 summers left with your kids, right? Why the hell are you stressing about increasing a fee? Like, or only delivering, keeping your scope tight or selling more to customers. This is what's important. Time with your family. You're working 6 days a week. Why don't we get to 4 days a week? You're bringing in 3 grand a month. How would life look if you got to 10 grand a month personal income for yourself? What opportunities could you create for your family? How many holidays could you have with your grandkids? Surely that's the important stuff. It's the only thing that matters. And if you're not putting yourself and your family and your experiences, the richness of the experiences that you're creating with your family, if that is not the absolute top of your priorities, then things are skewed and things need to change. And if your clients are your priority and you fear around them, it needs switching immediately. That's the truth.
And if accountants took that energy and that message and delivered that to their clients, they have all of the numbers at their fingertips. They have all of the evidence at their fingertips, and they can play around and manipulate it. So you can say, well, if you do this, then this is going to happen. If you do that, then this is going to happen. If you're not having those conversations with your clients, are you really serving them to the best that to the requirements that they need? I know business owners like me, we struggle with stuff like that. Like, I can do my forecasting, don't get me wrong, I'm a marketer, I can do that. But I don't have the knowledge to use the data that's in my account system without an accountant walking me through it. I simply don't have it. So you need to be having conversations like that with your customers. And if you're not, why not?
and I go back again, so many businesses and be massively underserved, and it scares me, you know, and that's why I want to help accountants to achieve, you know, so they're selling all of the services they need. I go back to my original business. My first business failed, and it failed for a couple of reasons. I took my eye off the ball a little bit. I stretched myself a little bit too thin, but primarily it's because I didn't have the correct finance function in place in that business. I didn't invest enough. I had 18-month-old data. I had people telling me what my business had done last year. And I remember, you know, even asking, I think I need monthly management accounts, so I need some up-to-date information. And I remember my accountant saying, that's overkill for a business of your size. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I won't have it then. And then, you know, when that business failed, set up a new business, and I wanted to invest fully into that. I wanted absolutely everything in place. And obviously then I was able to scale that business and sell it and make a lot of money in the even before I sold it, getting the money out of the business that I wanted to, you know. So many businesses are massively underserved. The house project we're working on at the moment, the builders are in there and the architect, and they work together. And I said to them the other week, I said, you've not had any money up front for the building yet. He said, oh yeah, we'll bill you at the end of this phase. I said, yeah, but you've got all these guys on site, all this materials arriving.
Risk.
Who's paying for that?
Yeah.
Well, you'll pay. I said, what if I don't? What if I kick you off site tomorrow? And all builders say the same thing. We'll come and put we'll come and put your windows through. Will you really? You're going to come and put windows through? Brilliant. Okay, right. I said, why are you funding my project?
Yeah.
And I said, I'll pay you up front for each phase. You should be at any phase in the project. I could end the project and you should have enough money in the bank to have made a profit by that stage. And he's like, so I sat with them and now I've paid them. I have changed their business because I've insisted on paying them up front.
But why haven't their accountant talked to them?
Why hasn't their accountant had this conversation? Because this is the truth, their accountant isn't doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Their accountant isn't charging enough. Their accountant will be billing annually. Their accountant hasn't got this right. So if they don't get it right for themselves, they are being selfish. They are being selfish for their clients, because if they're not demonstrating best practice themselves, maximizing lifetime value of every single client, bringing money in as fast as possible, commanding high fees, not doing any more work, etc., they cannot help their clients to do the same. And that is why their businesses are struggling.
So I think there's a lot to be said on pricing correctly, making sure your services are scoped correctly, and making sure that you are delivering a good service. So I want to move on slightly. I want to move on to rejection, because this is a massive problem when selling to clients initially, or even going back and rescoping the project and increasing their costs. So in one of the books, and I think it's Selling to Serve, I can't remember, but you said there's 4 reasons that clients say no. Trust, and they're all based on trust in themselves, trust in you, trust the outcome, and another.
Don't put me on the spot here. Don't put me on the spot making me remember what I've written in the book.
You remember those words that you've written in that book?
Yes, yeah.
And I think the other one was you're too cheap, and I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
So the reason clients say no is based on trust, and being too cheap is one of those reasons. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a concern for me. We've just had, as part, I keep going back to my building project, sorry, and we've got a grand piano, and I needed it moving into the other room while the floor's being done. So this is a pride and joy of this piano, right? So I rang the first company up and I asked them for a removal fee. So basically they're moving it from one room to the next. And he was like, it's going to be 250 quid, maybe 300 quid. And I thought that was a little bit dear. I thought, geez, just to move it like 10 yards. And I had a chat with him and stuff. And then I did some more research, rang another company, and this guy said it's going to be £500 for us to move it. And the reason why it's going to be that much is because we have the insurance that covers the cost of this piano. Should anything go wrong, this is our insurance certificate. We can pay out for any damage caused to this piano. I'm like, I get it. It's 500 quid. When can you come? And they're going to charge me 500 quid to move it back to the room as well. Yeah.
And so once I compared things, I became fearful of the cheaper price, and because he hadn't understood what my primary
Okay.
I forget there's a fire alarm test every Friday at 10 o'clock. Sorry. And he understood what my real concern was. And he dug into that and he
Yeah.
charged properly for it. And so I was fearful of paying a too low a price.
So, what other when it comes to fear of rejection, I had another client who would go networking, and he would find leads, and they would say, "Great, I need you to quote," and then he'd go, "Okay," and then it would take him 3 weeks, a month to put a proposal together
Yeah.
because he was I think it's because he was like scared that he was going to be rejected because we put his prices up. So therefore he
Yeah.
didn't want to go and deliver these prices. So what advice have you got around people who are nervous about that?
So there's two parts to that, Kelly. The first is fear of, let's just take the fear of rejection thing. What I say to people is there's I'm just going to bring it back to relationships, like personal relationships. Okay. If you can't get this bit right, what I'm going to say now, in your personal life, you've got no chance getting it right in your business life. Okay. So here's a life lesson for everybody here. So there's 8 billion people on the planet, right? And some of those are good people. Some of those are drama fueled people that like bring your energy down. Get away and remove the people that bring your energy down. Just remove them out of your life. Like I can think back to people in my life who were friends who just absolutely took the piss and were just negative drains, narcissistic, manipulative people that make you feel rock bottom. And I just got to a point with them where I didn't just ignore them or move away from them. I rang them up and I said, listen, this is what's been at, this is the crack. This will be the last time I ever speak to you. And this is why. And I told them. And then I ended the conversation with two very strong, very short words that go together that I was taught at a young age by a friend of mine. One begins with F and the other begins with O. And they're such beautiful words because they're so strong. And I call them like they're bridge burners. Like it's done. Like I don't want that person to be in any doubt as to whether I'm going to speak to them again or not. They're gone, right? So I've never been afraid of having that conversation with somebody.
Okay.
And I've had it with a client. I've had it with a customer with Go Proposal before, where someone they'd verbally abused a member of staff, sworn at him, and he'd gone absolutely out of his way for it. And he nearly didn't tell me, the member of staff. And I said, and he dropped it in conversation. I said, he said what to you? And he told me, I said, you're not paid enough to put up with that. Like, that's not what you're here for. So I contacted the client. I said, you do have no right to speak to my staff in the way you've spoken to this person. He has gone above and beyond. And they were a big client. They had 3 apps, blah, 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 blah. And I said, look, I also understand that people have bad days. And, you know, sometimes we say things we don't mean. So I'm going to give you a chance to go back and correct what you've said and apologize to Jack. And he gave me a bit of verbal. And I said, well, I'm going to give you to the end of the week to decide. And he said, and then what? I said, then I'm going to give you a full refund. I'm going to shut your apps down and you're gone. He said, if you do that, I'm going to divert all the resources of my marketing team to bad mouthing you and Go Proposal across every social platform. I said, well, buddy, you do whatever you feel is right for you, but this is what I'm not prepared to accept anymore from you. And
Imagine.
on the Friday, that was done. Like I'm just being dead real here. I'm just being dead honest with people. Like if you're not prepared to remove people from your life that you know are bad, negative people, then you end up bending over backwards for every single client that you ever have, and your life will be worse off because of it. So you've got to be able to stand up and say, I'm worth more than this.
Yeah.
Like I don't deserve to be spoken to like this, you know.
Yeah.
So
And
sorry.
it's okay for people to say no to you. That's fine. That's on them.
Absolutely. So in terms of the fear of rejection, you have to get over it in your life in general, right? That's the first thing. Okay. And know that there's 8 billion people on the planet. You can go and find some better people to be around that light you up and illuminate you and are just wonderful to be around. That's the first thing. The other thing in terms of producing proposals and things like that, when I first learned the power of speed, so speed is so important with proposals. It was when I had my marketing agency and we had a client and I developed a primitive version of Go Proposal back then that enabled me to agree fees whilst I was with the customer.
Yep.
So you've got to be able to agree fees whilst you're with a client, okay? Because if you have to agree fees at some point. So you're either going to agree them whilst I've got your attention, your focus, or you're going to try and do it after the fact. Yeah. So with this client, I did it, and he said, "Oh, as long as you can get me proposal over by the end of the week," I said, "I can do it now." So we did it now, and he signed it off now. The following day, they had a power cut to their business. It lasted 2 weeks, and it derailed the business for 6 months till they got it back on track. Meanwhile, I've started the project, right? If let's say this was a proposal meeting now, Kelly, and I said, okay, well, I'm interested in what you're offering. How much is it going to be? Can we make a decision? And you said, I'll send you a proposal over, right? My diary after this call now goes crackers. Just from a distance, we can't see that. It's stacked. There is no space in there. I don't even know what I'm going to eat today, right? Okay, that's why I've stocked up on food this morning. So I don't know actually when I'm going to be able to eat. Imagine if you sent me a proposal over a few days later, either this afternoon or whatever. I won't be able to respond to it. Next week, I'm in London. I've got an event in Birmingham. The following week, I've got 3 days out. When do you think you're going to get hold of me again? Okay. And what will happen is you'll send me a proposal over. I won't respond to you. You'll chase me up. I'll ignore all your phone calls because I'm busy, right? You will now think that the reason I have not got back to you is because your fee was too high. You'll discount your price. And I've just lost interest in you. Go Proposal was designed so that whilst you're with that client, you can agree the fees there and then, have a mature conversation with them. If they don't want to pay that much, not a problem. What do you want to take out? And if they're happy to move forward, well, there's your proposal. There's your engagement letter. Sign here. Your payments, give me your payment details, and let's crack on.
Yeah, I think there's two things for me that really stand out. One is the transparency, and transparency creates trust. So if they understand everything, you've got it in front of them, and they say yes, like they trust you, they can see everything. That it just makes much more sense than doing it behind closed doors. And the other thing I've just forgotten. When I was in a sales role myself, selling widgets, that was. I used to take an Excel sheet out with me, and it had all my pricing on. But I'd still have to do it like this in private to get the numbers out, because I couldn't do it in front of them.
Yeah.
And then you're right, you lose the sale. There was a point that I was going to make, and I completely forgot.
It will come back to you.
Right, before we move on though, I do want to say, if people have got questions, get them in now, because we will be going through questions in a bit. But James, when we were talking, we said that we would take, or you said that there was an exercise that we could get these guys to do today to help them on their journey.
Yes. Oh, around selling.
Oh
yeah, cool. Yeah, okay. So, right. So in the box, what I would like in the chat box, when you think of a salesperson, and not to be sexist, I might even say salesman, okay? Because that might spur another level of thinking in you as well. But a salesperson, salesman, or saleswoman, but salesman. I'm thinking of a specific salesman that I didn't like. But anyway, let's say salesperson. What are your feelings and thoughts about a salesperson? So when you hear that phrase, what are your immediate thoughts about them?
And in the chat box, ick. Pushy.
Okay, so pushy.
Anyone else? Slimy. Cocky. We've all had cocky salesmen.
Don't listen. Great one.
Fake stories. That's a really good one. Persistent time waster. Talk over you, confident and chatty.
Who are they more over-engineering the product? Who are they most interested in the conversation? Who do you feel they're most interested in?
Them. Paul's jumped straight in with them.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, themselves.
Them. Okay, perfect. So let's switch.
No wonder we hate them.
I'm telling you. So let's switch it up now. So next one, when you think of a let me spell 1 second. Consultant, and I'm thinking here specifically of a health consultant. So you've gone to see. So let's imagine this. So it's a some medical thing you've gone to get checked out, and you are speaking to a high-level consultant. When you think about a consultant, a medical consultant, what words would come to mind?
Knowledgeable. Paul and Susanna straight in there with the same. Trustworthy, searching questions. That's an interesting one. Specialised, caring, listening. Can you write this fast?
I can write, but you won't be able to read it.
So caring and listening, professional.
Specialist.
Yeah, specialist, expert. Have we got trustworthy up there? Yeah.
Especially professional. Listening is a really good one.
Mm-hmm. Patient and focused.
Patient's a really interesting one, isn't it? 'Cause it's the opposite of pushy. Like they're prepared to be patient.
Yeah.
Calm. Who are they most interested in?
Me.
Yes.
Yeah, their client.
Okay, brilliant. Right, thank you. So this is the issue when we hear the word selling, is that the moment you hear the word sales, salesperson, salesman, whatever, you in your mind, you think of all these different things, right? And they're horrible, and you don't want to be associated with them. The moment you think about a consultant, a medical consultant, who are doing the same thing, they're trying to sell you a procedure, or they're trying to get you to do take a certain action, or have an operation, or whatever they want you to do, you think knowledgeable, thinking about you, specialist, asking questions, listening, being calm and being focused, etc. It's a very different perception. The highest level salespeople are these. This is consultative selling. And so it's about us switching our minds that we don't want to be associated with that. And it's not that selling is bad. It's just that you've experienced bad salespeople. A great salesperson is interested in this. Then I've encountered car salespeople specifically. When I think of a salesman, I think of this specific one at BMW garage in Doncaster. He's the top performing salesperson, right? Worst salesman I've ever encountered in my life. Yeah. I walked out of there. I swore I would never buy a BMW ever again. And I know of other people that have walked out of there as well. Where the top car salesman in America sells 6 times more cars than the number 2 car salesperson. And he operates like this. He focuses on not on selling you this car, but on selling you the next car and selling you your family's their cars as well. He's genuinely interested in you and making sure they're getting what you want. He'd even tell you to go down the road and get another car from somebody else if he felt it was in your genuine interest. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to disassociate ourselves with this, associate ourselves with consultative selling. And the reason why it's the most important skill you can have is not actually because of selling your services. It's that if you can't convince me as a customer why I need to give you my data by 5 p.m. on a Friday, and you're happy, and I'm happy to give it to you at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, if you can't convince me why I need to get my tax return information in by the end of September versus the end of January, because you understand the benefits to me, and you'll be able to communicate that, then your clients are running your business for you. Yeah. A sale is always happening. A sale always happens. Either you are selling or you are being sold to. You are selling me that you need all the tax return information by the end of September, or I'm selling you on the fact that I don't care about it and I'll give it to you at the end of January and put you and your team under pressure. Either way, a sale is happening. And in one of them, you're in control of your business. In the other one, your clients are in control of your business. Okay. And so to train ourselves in consultative selling, where we listen and we communicate and we generally trying to help the client, that's where life becomes so much better for everybody.
Because you have their best interest at heart.
Yes.
And I know that accountants have their best interest at heart, but they get stuck on the fact that they're selling, and this is why I really love the title of the book. It's selling to serve, you're serving your clients, it's in the best interest of their clients if you talk about the different softwares that they can have, if you talk about the increased services that you can offer. It's not about getting the most money out of them, it's about making sure that you are the right fit for the client and that they don't go anywhere else.
Absolutely. And there's another part of that, just to add to that as well, Kelly, which is it's not just the right fit for them as a client, it's the right fit for them as a person.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a phrase. So I was a director of a firm, and we introduced this phrase, which was person first, client second. Okay. And it's so important, person first, client second. And where I learned it from was a friend of mine who's got a wonderful physio practice in Hartlepool. And if you ring a physio up with a bad back, every physio asks you the same questions. What type of pain is it? Whereabouts in your back is it? How long have you had it? How is it a sharp pain? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, come, well, let's have a look at it, right? Client, they're treating the patient with that conversation. What he would do is say, so someone would ring up, I've got a back pain. Okay, before we get onto your back pain, can you tell me what that back pain is preventing you from doing now that you used to be able to do before? Well, I used to exercise every morning. I used to love working in the garden. I used to love taking my grandkids to the park. Can't do any of those things now. Okay. So my understanding is that what type of exercising did you do? How big's your garden? Like, how many grandkids have you got? Cool. Okay. So you're trying to take your grandkids to the park once a week, get your garden looking great for summer, and be able to exercise every morning. Is that right? Okay. Now tell me about your back. They treat the person first and the patient second. There is far more value to that person in them taking their grandkids to the park than there is them going to having the back treated. I then implemented this in different businesses, and one of my clients was a skip hire company, right? And they were a skip broker, which meant that they charged a little bit more than if you were to contact your local skip company, but they had a wider range of services. They had a man in a van they could send to your house. They had all these different services, right? So what was happening, Kelly, was people were ringing them up and saying, how much is it for an 8-yard skip this weekend? And they'd say, 250 quid, too much, and put the phone down, okay? I switched the question. Okay, so people would ring up and say, how much for an 8-yard skip? So let's say you're ringing up the skip hire company now, Kelly, and you've rang up, how much for an 8-yard skip for this weekend? Okay, I'll answer that, Kelly. I'll give you the answer. But before I give you the answer, can I just ask you a few questions first? Sure. Whereabouts is the skip going? Is it on the drive or on the road? Cool. What are you putting in it? And next question, Kelly, are you filling it yourself? And you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to fill it myself. Okay. The reason I'm asking you that question is I can actually send a man in a van tomorrow on Friday, today actually, and I can actually get all of that rubbish cleared away for you. So you've got your weekend back. If you weren't filling a skip this weekend, what else would you be doing? Oh, well, I'd be doing okay. Well, for the man in a van, it's 350 quid, right? But you get your weekend back. So you've rang up to buy a skip and 250 quid was too much for a skip. I've sold you your weekend for £350 because I had a different conversation with you.
Yeah.
Do you get me? 250 quid was too expensive for a skip. £350 wasn't too expensive for your weekend because I've spoken to you as a person first and a client second. That's the switch we need to make.
Yeah, and this is value, and people don't like the term value because they feel like it's intangible. They're like, well, what does it mean? This is what it means. If you increase the value of what you're doing, then you can sell at a higher price. But it's not just about like stacking loads of things on top. It's about understanding what transformation they need. So when we do marketing, we look at the transformation journey. We look about where they're starting. So what headaches are they experiencing right now? Where are they in their life? What do they need to achieve at the end of it? And how are we going to get them there? Now, for the most part, your clients are going to be relatively the same, but they might have different triggers. And it's listening for those different triggers that's the important part.
Yes. And if I was to sum it up, and I'm talking about this from personal experience now, guys, if you want to bring the most value you possibly can, you have got to show up in my life at home, right? That's what you've got to do. You've got to show up you've got to make a meaningful material difference there. So let me give you an example. Like, I couldn't care less about cash flow, budget, forecast, management reports, all that stuff. Couldn't care less. But I'll tell you, one year that we cared was when, are we able to take the kids to Lapland this year? So this is, we were growing the business, and Becky, my wife, her sister had booked Lapland for their kids. I remember Becky saying to me, can we afford to take the kids to Lapland? If we don't do it this year, they're going to be too old in a couple of years' time. What do you think? And I rang Paul up and he said, let me just crunch the numbers for you. And he rang me back and he said, if you don't take the kids to Lapland, what are we doing this for? And I rang Becky back and I said, book the trip.
Yeah.
Like my kids, my wife, talk about that trip to Lapland now. The accountant showed up in my life. He showed up at home. He made a difference there, right? If I'm not, dealing with my bookkeeping on a Saturday morning or my VAT returns on a Saturday morning, and I can take Scarlett to athletics competition every single Saturday, you're showing up in my life. You helped Becky to leave her job. She was a secure psychiatric nurse in a secure hospital. She'd been strangled. She'd been kicked in the face. I was fearful every time she went to work. So for her to be able to leave that job because I was able to bring in enough money, because we had a budget and a cash flow and a forecast that showed me how many clients we need to get to be able to pay us this amount of money so that Becky could hand a notice in. Like at the start, in the front of every set of management reports, it said the goal is James take the kids to and from school every day, move house to Finningley, and for Becky to leave work. And at the start of every management meeting, how close are you to achieving these things, James? Because that's the only thing that matters.
That's your driver.
They're the drivers.
Yeah.
And if you're not having that conversation, if you're not showing up in my life at home, you are not bringing me the most value. And I will drop you the moment I find someone that can.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you're just a service. That's
Yes.
who you are. You're just so there is two things there. So that's why these webinars, the impact webinars, are starting, because you need to understand the impact that you're having on your clients, and the more you can get to know that, the easier it's going to be for you to serve them. You have to recognize it. You have to recognize that the thing that's sexy about you. Anyone who hasn't listened to the podcast should listen to the podcast. Accountants are sexy, changed my mind. This thing that's sexy is the impact that you have on their lives.
Yes.
That's what's sexy. It's not, no one buys accountancy services. No one wants bookkeeping. No one wants cash flow. No one wants that. If they could live without it, they would, but they can't. They need the impact that that has on their lives. So that's number one. Number two is we have a question from Stephen Gibbons. So please do get more questions in if you have. How long have we got you, James?
As long as you need me for, kinda.
As long as he's got a busy day and he needs to eat. So get your questions in now.
Yeah.
We've got Stephen Gibbons. He says, do you think that you can get too friendly with your clients so it makes it difficult to put your prices up or tell them things that they don't like to hear? That's a really interesting question.
It's interesting, but yeah, I think you can be friendly. I think you can be their friend. I don't think that matters. But I think it's important to distinguish between being nice and being kind. Yeah, that's the distinguish. So you can be, you don't have to be nice to someone, but you can be kind to them, and being kind to them is maybe telling them the thing they don't want to hear. But like I've got friends who maybe they've got blind spots and I need to tell them about something or the way they're behaving or whatever, and I would tell them because I respect our friendship. And if I don't tell you this thing, I know this is going to come between us and cause us an issue. So you need to be aware of it. And I'm telling you because I love you and because I want us to preserve our friendship. And they would do the same with me. And so it's not the friendly thing. It's the nice and kindness switch. And it's about having honest conversations with people. And the beauty with numbers is that you can just get down to the facts and show them, look, this is currently what you're spending. This is currently how much money you're making. If you continue on this path, however good you think you are, this is where you're going to end up. This change needs to happen now. Or, for example, going back to tax returns again, you need to give me this tax information so I can explain to you what your tax liability is going to be. So you've got time to set this money aside. So you've got it in advance of the end of January, or April, whenever it gets paid. And whenever it gets paid. So you've got the money set to one side so you can pay it. I'm not being fair to you if I allow you to wait till the deadline and then I do this for you and I spring this on you because you may have a big bill to pay. So the cutoff for this service is the end of September. I've explained the benefits to you. If you don't give me the information by the end of September, respectfully, I'm not going to deliver the service for you, because I'm not going to be seen as someone that's putting you under undue pressure because you're going to be turned around to me and be pissed off with me at the end of January, and that's not fair. So either give me this information within the next few days, or I'm not delivering this service to you. Yeah. That is a kind conversation.
Yeah.
If they take issue with that, if they want to leave, if they want to stop being your friend, that's their problem, not yours. But you've communicated. This is the trick, Stephen. You've got to communicate your intention first, right? I want to keep you as a client. I want to make sure you've got the information that you need, so you've got no surprise bills coming up in the future. Is that fair enough? Cool. Right. This is what needs to change.
Absolutely. And it's there. I think there's one thing about having someone slightly distant so you can remain objective. I think the closer you are to the problem and the closer you are to the family, sometimes that can skew things in your mind, which is why or where systems come into it, because then you can just fall back onto the system because you know the system is implemented for their benefit.
Yeah.
So this is the way we work with all clients, regardless of whether you're friends or not.
And that's a slightly different situation, Kelly, if they are friends to start with or family. But again, you've got to start on the right footing. So let's say they're a friend that's come to you, they're a family member that's come to you, they've been referred to you by a family member or a friend. You're in a pub, you're having a chat, your family member mentioned, oh, you need to speak to him as a can. They come over to you, oh, your brother's just said I should come and see you. He said you'll look after me. Said you'll look after me. Could I come and see you? And this is the line. Just learn the line, please. Whoever comes to you with this, you say, absolutely, but there's something you need to know. That's the line. There's something you need to know. When you come to me, I will be delivering you the very highest level of service I can, just like I deliver to all of my other clients, because I presume that's what you want from me. When you're saying I'll look after you, that's actually what you want. You want me to make sure that I'm servicing you and giving you everything that you want.
Yeah.
The only way I can do that is if I charge you the same as I charge them. Is that okay? Like, have the conversation. And if they say, oh, no, I want it really cheap, right, I'm not the person for you, right? Have the conversation to them. And do you know who that should be the most relieving for? Them, not you. They will be relieved, because then if they ever need to pull you up on something, if they ever need more from you, they'll be comfortable to ask. I've got a friend of mine, a really good friend, and he's got a carpet cleaning company. We get him around to keep cleaning our carpets because he's brilliant. The last couple of times he hasn't charged us. No, James, all right, you're a good friend. And it's made us feel, absolutely not, Stephen, no, because this is the problem it causes. It's made Becky feel really uncomfortable. And she said to me, if he doesn't charge you, if he refuses to charge us next time, I don't want him back. It's making me feel too uncomfortable. So I don't want him around. So I've said to him, if you don't charge me your full rate, I'm not doing it. I'm really strong with this with other people. There's a coffee van near here on this industrial estate around here. And he pulls up, plays his music, and he's got a coffee, and he does his coffee. The building site, which is our house, I said to him last week, would you go to our house and deliver coffees to all the builders and plasterers and everyone on site once a week, and I'll pay you for it? So he went there last week. He's there again today, actually. He messaged me. He said, jump me there today. And I pulled up as he was there, and he'd served 10 guys on the site coffees. And he said, would you like a coffee? And I said, yeah, I will do. He says, on the house. I said, I won't accept it on the house. I said, I brought you here because you do good coffee, and I want you to look after everyone. You're now giving me this. It's another good coffee, and I should pay you full. Never discount, never give anything away for free. I'm grateful if you're offering me it, but I'm going to pay you full rate. So we need to do it in our own life with the people that supply us. That's the first rule. So all of my friends, so I've got a friend that's a painter and decorator of the house. The gardener friend is there. They're all getting paid full price. I will not have a discount from them. And likewise, when people come to engage with us, there's something you need to know. You're getting the highest level of service, but you're going to pay full price.
I had a conversation with a freelancer that's going to come and help me do some social media stuff. And he's trained, been working in organisations, just started out as a freelancer on his own. I said, great, okay, so have you got your pricing sorted yet? He said, yes. I said, brilliant, what is it? He's like, £15 an hour. I said, I'm not paying you that. Like, there is no way that you're going to be able to sustain yourself, and there's no way that we can have a long-term partnership if you're not charging correctly.
Yes.
So I won't be paying you that. And I upped what his, and it's doing me out of money. I understand that, but it's also going to make sure that he's around for a long period of time.
Yes.
So I need him to have a sustainable business. We have another question from Matthew Alexander. This is one that I particularly enjoy. So, how important is niche selection in relation to your ability to serve your clients and show up in their life at home? He's still at the point of finishing his qualifications and setting up his business, and he wants to be able to hit the ground running, which is why he's asking.
Yeah, I think there's arguments for and against. I think, niching can be very good because you can be very specific in your marketing. You can command a higher fee. You've got more predictable services because you provide, you're solving the same problems over and over again, whether that's, like construction. And it doesn't matter what the sector is. Like, I believe you can still charge high fees, whether it's construction or, our firm specialized in marketing agencies, etc. I think when you're starting out, I'm not sure if you can be as selective because it might just take you a little bit of time to get going. But what you can be selective at, the niche could actually be around principles. Like, I'm only prepared to work with firms that understand the value of what we do, that are actively growing, that want to invest a minimum of 2% of their revenue into the finance function of their business because they understand the importance of it. Like, it can be principle based in terms of a niche. It doesn't necessarily have to be industry based. And also, if it is industry based, you could have multiple. You could have 2 or 3 potentially. And then likewise, if you wanted to go all in on one industry, that can be fantastic as well. So I know it's a really vague answer I've given you there, but I'm actually not as black and white. I used to be. You have to have a niche, you have to pick a niche and stuff. But then practically, maybe you don't. And you can always, what you could do is you could kind of edge your bets, and you could have, like, you take people on who are the right principles, right values, prepared to pay you the money. That's a key one. They've got to be prepared to pay you the money. So if they're investing, if you want clients that pay you £1,000 a month, that's at 3%, so that's 12 grand a year. If that's at 3% of their revenue, I think that's a 400k revenue client. So if you want to be paid £1,000 a month, they need to be turning over at least £400,000, or they're probably not going to invest at that right level. So that could be a kind of a deciding factor. The danger then is if you then niche down and say, well, I want a niche with clients that are prepared to pay me £1,000 or more. You've got your business, all the businesses in the country, then your niche businesses, and then your niche businesses that are over 400k, you're quickly boxing off very quickly. So my county place, when they started, they took on various clients, but quickly found a specialism within creative agencies, marketing agencies, built it up, slowly moved the other ones away. I think they kept one cleaning company for a long time and their niche, and then eventually dropped the cleaning company and went all in on the niche.
So I've got a similar point of view. Niching is a massive thing in marketing. Everyone's like, you must niche, you must niche, you must niche. But actually, you mustn't. It's not a must. I think what you need to do is identify your audience, and then you need to segment them. So you can have a niche, a very broad niche, where you're serving online content creators, for example, but sitting underneath that are a ton of different segments. And as long as you're identifying each segment in your marketing and understanding who you need to connect with, what hashtags they're using, where they're hanging out online, what value you offer, as long as you're being able to identify that niche in that marketing message, then you will be fine. So yeah, niche your marketing, not your practice, but don't go all out and go for all niches immediately. Do it stage by stage. And the thing that's working particularly well right now is community-based marketing. So find a community, find somewhere where people talk to each other, like the accounting space. This is a community. The marketing space, it's a community. So find places where they talk to each other, so your message can spread faster when they talk about the nice things that you're up to.
Yeah. And you can have multiple, like, shop fronts effectively into an accounting
100%
accounting business. Like what Paul's saying there, like niche your marketing, not your practice. You can have 2 or 3 shop fronts to it. You can have a general shop front, niche shop front.
In fact,
about delivery drivers, like, so it could be like delivery accounting or whatever, delivering results or whatever.
delivering results, I love it. So if you're going to go into SEO, that's exactly the way to go right now. Niche marketing is what's working for accountants. broad spectrum, like accountants in an area, unless you've already capitalized on it, is a waste of time. So the more niche you can go, fine, but have a load of pages that serve different audiences, and if they're around the same kind of like company, that's going to serve you better.
Yeah. Good question from Stephen there. There's one good question.
There's another one that came in on referral fees. Should you ask for them if you introduce a business to someone else, or will your client think you are only recommending them because you get a referral fee? I think I would like to also include BNI in this as well. BNI is amazing, but sometimes it can be amazing, but sometimes, like if you're referring just into that group, you've really got to be careful of who you're referring.
Yeah. So I'm not a fan of paying referral fees or asking for referral fees. I just think it's too murky, and it's just too awkward and complicated. And I think that people are much more motivated to refer because they know that the person they're referring is going to get a fantastic service, and that person is going to come back to you and say, thank you so much for referring me to them. They've changed my life. Like, I want the kudos and of being, yeah, I'm in the know. I know who's who, right? Okay, more than I want a few quid. Yeah. Like, and it's the same with everyone else. So I don't ask for it. I don't do it. It's difficult to manage. It's expensive. It's expensive to run, and it's just not needed, you know. But I think you can forge your own referral groups. When again, going back to my accounting place, when I first met those guys, they were doing BNI, and I observed that Paul was devoting a day of his week
a lot
to someone else's business. And I said, right, who within there are you getting the work from? And it was like these three. It was like the financial advisor, then the solicitor, right? I'm like, well, why don't you set your own group up? Meet with them once a month for lunch or once a quarter for lunch, perhaps business between each other, and do it yourself. But the thing I would say about referrals as well is that accountants pride themselves on where do you get all your business from? Word of mouth, referrals, and they're so proud of themselves. I'm like, oh, brilliant, a method that you're not in control of them.
Yeah,
brilliant. What you need to have is multiple marketing channels that you're in control of that are bringing you a constant flow of your dream customers. Referrals and word of mouth. Yeah, it's lovely. It's nice. Yeah, okay. Very hard to manage, very hard to control. There are things you can do, but I'd be much more interested in investing in long-term, predictable marketing strategies.
Yeah, you've got 7 systems in Selling to Serve.
Yes.
And I think if anyone's got any questions about what systems to implement, they need to go there, because that just lays it out for them.
Yes.
The referral fees is a funny one. It wasn't too long ago, before my time really, but it wasn't too long ago that accountants couldn't even market their service.
Yes.
You know, so referral fees, incoming and outgoing, that's still very much a grey area in the ethical codes, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's not grey ethically now. It's just that going back to the fact that they're attached to an old method of doing things, and marketing and sales are very closely related to each other. To my mind, marketing is selling. You're trying to drive people towards a sale. You're not raising brand awareness.
Yeah.
That they are unknowingly in their mindset coupled onto things that are not serving them or serving the clients either. And so they have to let go of those things. They have to be themselves. We talked about this earlier, Kelly, right? This is an interesting observation. You have to be you. So what part of the world do you live in, Kelly?
Milton Keynes.
Milton Keynes, okay. So if I said to you, right, I'm in Milton Keynes for the night, what's the best restaurant I should go to? Where should I go?
Oh, you should go up to the 14th floor and see it from the top, yeah.
Yeah, and what do they serve there? What should I have?
You should probably go for the Sunday. If you're going to come up on a Sunday, go for the Sunday roast, because it's amazing.
Right, okay. So if someone was coming to stay with you, you'd be like, you got to go there, have the Sunday roast, make sure you get an extra Yorkshire pudding and gravy on the side. It's beautiful. And if you got the money, get the apple crumble. Oh my God, I don't know what they do with the custard, but it's crazy, right? You'd get all excited and enthusiastic about it. I'll drive you there. I'll take you there. I'll try and get you a table book. You've got.
I would meet you there. It's amazing.
You know what I mean, right? So people get enthusiastic and excited. Oh, cool. And you're an accountant as well, aren't you? What service do you provide? Oh, well, we can look after your, we can make sure you're compliant, and we can take care of your bookkeeping. It's like, hang on a minute, where's the person just gone? Where's that enthusiastic person about the restaurant gone? And why are you this person now? What's happened? But because the person who talks about the restaurant and the food in that exciting way, that's you. And you are the person that your family love the most. You are the person why your friends are your friends, because they love you as you when you are you, just as you, right? So the moment you then go into work mode and you act not like you, how on earth can you expect people to love you and be attracted to you and be wanting to work with you and be around you? Because they don't, you've lost enthusiasm. Selling is an exchange of enthusiasm. You're communicating your enthusiasm and your passion for something in exchange for money. So if you are not you, you cannot do that.
And it's okay to be passionate about accounting as well. Like this is your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what you're telling me is we've given permission for accountants to have personality.
To be, and when I think back to firms that I know I've impacted over the years, the biggest turning point, yeah, we've introduced software to them and books and various things, but the biggest turning point every single time is when they realize, you as you're brilliant. Just all you need to bring is that person to the party. You don't have to have it all figured out, right? It's okay to say to a client, I don't know, but let's figure it out together. Let's try and find it. That's absolutely fine. Okay. And the moment that you bring whether, with how you dress, whether you have tattoos, whether you swear, like just you as you, when that person starts showing up to work and you've let go of this image of who you think you need to be, everything will start to change for you. I absolutely promise.
Do you think that accountants still have reminiscence of when they were employed? For example, I have lots of tattoos, but I had that tiny little tattoo right there, and I would wear my shirt cuffed down here when I was employed because I was embarrassed and I didn't want them to see it, and I had to be something else that I was not. So
Yes.
I had to kind of hide my personality a little bit, or at least I thought I did, going back like 15 years. So do you think they've got the hangover of being employed and what professional means?
Definitely. And I have it myself. Like when I said to you before, can I swear? I swear, right?
Yeah.
I'm obviously mindful around children.
Yeah.
My mum would probably give me a slap if I swore in front of her. But when I'm my natural self in my flow,
Yeah.
I won't question whether I'm going to swear or not. If I'm posting on LinkedIn or I'm talking on behalf of Sage, I'm very mindful of my language,
Yeah.
which means I have to not slightly me. The reason why I love being here today is because I can be fully me. I can engage as me and bring my energy and not worry about what I'm saying and swearing and things like that. And you get hopefully my best self today, right? Whereas I do feel this need when I'm under the Sage umbrella to tone it down slightly, but then knowing that I'm toning me down as well.
Yeah, it's a corporation. There's a lot more going on in Sage that you have to be mindful of. I think this is one of the benefits and one of the pleasures of being a small business owner. It's on your terms.
Yes.
You can be who you want. You don't have this red tape to cross.
No. And that's it. If you dare to be you in your marketing, in your language, speak how you speak around your friends, wear what you wear around your friends, and bringing that self to this, that's when you'll start to win. And here's the other thing is when you sell your services to your clients, all what you should sell is what you would want if you were them, knowing what you know. If someone comes to you and they say, "Oh, I want you to just do manual accounts," and then you've had a very different conversation, then you should be saying, "If I was you in your position, I would want da, 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 da," and have the confidence to present that, because that's what I would want. I would want this if I was you. I'd be scared to death if I didn't have this stuff in. They don't have to say yes to it, and so you'll sell more. People will love you more. They'll buy more from you when you are you.
And also, there's one small point. Don't presume that they can't afford you, because people will afford what they value. So they might want to pay more for services with you rather than services with somebody else because they value your services more as well. So never presume that somebody can't afford you.
Mate, Kelly, right, I'm going to just share this. This is not as a flex, by the way, and I'm not going to come across as like cash, but let me just explain to you that you should never make an assumption about what money people have got or what they're prepared to spend money on. People are prepared to go into debt to get the things they want, right? Okay. So we want going back. I'll finish off with this. So we wanted this piano, and I'd seen this piano in this shop for sale, and it played itself, right? So we can't play the piano, but we learn him. But I saw this piano that played itself, and it was about 8 grand, right? And I'm like, look, I really like it, but the piano I really want is like 10 grand, but it doesn't have the playing function. What would you recommend? He says, I won't go with that, because if you're gonna have to add the playing function to that, it's going to be £15,000. So don't go with it, even though it's going to be, it's just not going to be worth it. And I thought, you don't know anything about me. You've not asked me any questions, and you have just told me not to spend 15 grand on this self-playing piano, because it's not worth it and it's too much money.
Because it's too much money in his own mind.
I left that conversation, and a month later, I walked into Steinway and I bought a self-playing piano for £116,000.
Wow.
Okay. He had no idea what I was looking for, what it meant to us as a family, that we want to buy this asset that the children were going to enjoy for many years. I've done my research. I know it was a good thing to buy, and et cetera, et cetera. He made assumptions about me rather than asking me what I wanted and then having the courage to present that. And if I can't afford it, if I don't want to spend it, that's my decision, not his.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to ask the everyone who's here, what did you take away from today? What are you going to action? Is there something that you can put down in the chat box to say, this has really resonated, or this is what I'm going to do? Because I'd love to see what the key takeaways are. So get something in the chat box for me now. I want to say thank you very much for coming on, James. You have given tons of value. You have been an absolute pleasure as a guest. So thank you very much for coming on.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Hopefully I brought myself to this and brought some energy along. And and the big thing here, obviously people turn up and they take notes and they take ideas. What I would always say though, Kelly, is if people don't take action and do something, nothing's actually going to change. So it can just be a degree shift or a step forward or a letting go of something. But if you don't do that, then nothing will actually change for you.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on, because like you can learn, there's so much theory. Everybody can learn theory. Theory is available everywhere. But if you don't actually do anything with that theory, you're not going to get anywhere at all. So you can read all the books and sales that you like. You can learn marketing from YouTube. You know, you can talk to your suppliers. But if you don't actually start implementing and having conversations and talking to your customers, then nothing is going to change. So we've got some lovely things coming through. It's mostly about showing up. So showing up as their true self, showing up in your customer's life because that's what's important to them. Definitely working on confidence. So thank you ever so much for everybody to come on and spend time with us today. I really appreciate it. This is my first webinar. I was super nervous. Hopefully you couldn't tell.
It was great. Brilliant. Thank you.
But James, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Kelly. And thank you everyone for kind of being open to ideas and things as well. Thank you.
You're welcome, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers. See ya. Bye.